We have the backstage reaction to Jacob Fatu following his WWE debut on last week's SmackDown. Elsewhere, in other news for the Blue Brand, SmackDown has gotten itself a new head writer, and despite some speculation out there, Shane McMahon is no longer with WWE. It's all in the wrestling news. Hello everyone, Jack and Ross back again with yet more Monday morning wrestling news, or the afternoon if it's gone out in the afternoon.
This will be a 2 p.m. BST publishing.
Fair enough. We're going to start by talking about Jacob Fatu. We mentioned him a little bit on the last news video because he has, maybe kayfabe, maybe not, cracked Cody's ribs.
He's bruised that boy.
He has.
Yeah.
And it was an impactful debut, as most of the new Bloodlines debuts.
He danced to Solo Sikoa's theme on his way back up the ramp. Basically, what he did in the space of 5 minutes is proved he's what do we want Solo Sikoa to be, but he's just better than Solo Sikoa in every single way.
Solo's more quietly menacing, whereas Jacob's a cheeky boy.
No, you tell me Solo's meant to be quiet when he's going with his thumb. Come on now. I guess it's a yin and the yang between the wrestler and the not wrestler.
Yeah, he turns it on when he sees red when he gets between those ropes.
He's like Festus.
According to Sean Ross Sapp, Jacob Fatu was around the WWE crew over WrestleMania weekend and made a very good first impression for many. Sean Ross Sapp was told that Jacob had a very respectful approach, as most who have met him would be unsurprised to hear. I've met him.
Have you?
Really briefly.
How?
When I interviewed Rikishi. And Rikishi went, you know what? Let me bring my whole family into this interview. And I was thinking, I just want to interview.
I don't care about these bums.
That's literally what I was like. I wasn't quite thinking that, but I was thinking like, but this was just meant to be an interview with Rikishi, and now he's worked me to get his whole family over. And I remember thinking, looking back, Jacob's there, Solo's there.
I was going to say,
I'm
where
there
are
with
they
the bloodline.
Yeah.
And I should have put the wands. I should be more respectful, to be honest.
Get your crystal ball out.
But apparently Jacob Fatu was very respectful. I do remember him being a nice man. I think.
Well, he's brought up in the business. What else do you expect?
Absolutely. According to Fightful, though, one potential reason WWE waited to debut Jacob Fatu, involves his criminal record. He was arrested for robbery at 18 years old, which had previously prevented him from working international shows.
Yeah, we don't know per this report as well that continues to this day, so we'll have to see the next time they go abroad. When's that going to be?
I don't know, actually.
Is it going to be the next Saudi show?
Yeah, maybe.
Potentially. I don't know. We'll have to see if he's on the card for that one or not.
Fightful have also reminded us that, of course, the Usos were once thought to be barred from international WWE shows due to their own criminal histories, but have since appeared at several international shows over the last few years.
They'll go to Canada soon, won't they? That's when we'll know, because it was always like Jey Uso wasn't let across the border. Jimmy Uso couldn't get across the border, so we'll know if Mr. Fatu will get across the border there.
Yes, Fightful have also claimed that his criminal record was the main reason that he hadn't been previously hired, but that the Paul Levesque/TKO Group Holdings regime was more open to employing him and had been interested for some time. And I think, given the fact that this happened when he was 18 and he's now in his 30s, I imagine mid to late 30s, and he's been making a name for himself in wrestling, seems to have stayed out of trouble. I think fair enough.
Yeah, we've all done stupid things when we were 18, weren't we?
Yeah. I've never been arrested for robbery. However,
me neither.
If I had been at 18, but then I'd made my name in wrestling.
I mean, it was probably a petty crime.
You never know.
Well, nicked a beer bottle, haven't we?
Yeah. But we're not as intimidating as Jacob Fatu.
No, maybe not. No.
But no, I think that's fair enough. And by all accounts, he seems to have made a good first impression, not only in front of the camera, but behind the scenes as well. So it's nice to see.
That's good to hear. Because when you see someone make an impressive debut, there's always that little thing, isn't there? I hope they don't balls up for themselves.
Yeah.
So we've seen it countless times down the decades. But yeah, hopefully he's on one. He is one. He's one of the ones.
As you say, he does instantly seem to be like the most eye-catching member of the new bloodline. I don't know what to call them. The bloodline? Yeah. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Behind the scenes on SmackDown, they've got a new head writer because Ryan Callahan, who was previously the head writer or lead writer, has now been confirmed to have parted ways with WWE, with longtime writer John Swikata? John Swikata being promoted to Callahan's former position. There's no further word, though, on Callahan's departure other than that he's left the company.
Yeah, as for Swikata, Fightful note the little is known of the new SmackDown lead writer, but those that they talked to within the company noted that he's a well-liked member of the company's writing team.
Yeah, good luck to John Swikata. I think that, will maybe in the writing industry, I imagine, maybe Ryan Callahan's just got another opportunity elsewhere. Maybe he's just had enough.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We don't know, do we?
It must be a demanding job every week. write an excellent show every week.
It must be frustrating as well when you write something that you've like poured your blood, your sweat, and your pen ink into, and then someone who works above you goes, "Oh, I don't quite like that. We'll change that, but I'll keep most of your idea, and I'll take the credit." I'm Triple H.
I was going to say, I imagine it's a bit nicer under Triple H than it would have been under Vince, who was towards the last few years there. Every week it felt
erratic,
like a report would come out. Script for Raw has been torn up at the last second. Whereas over on SmackDown, we'll see how John Swiccarda does. I assume in a collaborative effort with Paul, of course.
Big Paul.
He's making movies. He really is. Pal, yeah. Ross.
I know. I saw this news article while I was in Germany, and I told our own Twitter account to F off. Because I couldn't believe this is a thing. I can't believe this is still a thing as we're sat here the week after that initial report came out, Jack.
We're talking, of course, about the best wrestler in the world, Shane McMahon, amid speculation that he could be interested in doing something with AEW. It's actually come to light that Shane McMahon no longer has any sort of contract with WWE. There's been speculation Shane wouldn't join AEW. He'll still have ties to WWE. No. Apparently there are no ties.
God. It's terrifying, isn't it? It really is terrifying. It's an interesting... Like, it can't be good from... I know that it'll make headlines within wrestling if Shane McMahon went, it's a McMahon going to AEW, going to the other side. But you got to be, if you're Tony Khan, you got to be so wary about someone with that last name coming into your company, surely.
Yeah, I think it'd be funny though. Imagine a big War Games-esque match, Team Tony versus Team Shane.
It'll be funny until Shane gets in the ring, and as his last run in the WWE proved, just make it all about him and him being the World Heavyweight Champion. When Shane McMahon pins Mr. Strickland to win the title at Wembley, then we'll all be chortling. The punches will be great to see at Wembley.
Fightful Selective.
I'm joking, of course.
Fightful Selective reported that McMahon does not have a Talent or Legends contract with the promotion, though he did feature in WWE 2K24 as part of a separate agreement. While he isn't currently signed to WWE, the odds of the 54-year-old Shane McMahon showing up in AEW appear slim, Ross. They appear slim. So that's all right.
But there's no smoke without fire, is there? And this is the second week this has been going on. The second week. It's not going away.
Yeah, Fightful might have an answer for that. They say that the chances appear slim because those that they'd spoken to say that Shane McMahon's name hasn't been brought up in AEW at a high level. Tony Khan, meanwhile, recently said that he'd never met or talked to Shane in his life. Shane himself has spoken to others about the possibility of it and doesn't seem opposed to it.
Yeah, I bet he doesn't. I bet he doesn't. It doesn't matter.
It'd be...
You just go back to the stories of the Rumble where he basically wanted himself to win the match, didn't he? And then had the whole fiasco with the entrances and whatnot. And Randy
or at least be like the star of it.
Yeah, you get out there, kid, when Shane McMahon was kicking up a fuss. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Shane McMahon going back to what he was like in the early noughties of like basically stuntman Shane McMahon, to give him his full nickname. But to see best wrestler in the world Shane McMahon in AEW, I think would harm AEW more than it would do good. Not just within the people who hate AEW, but the people who love AEW, and see 54-year-old Shane McMahon come in and presumably do what he would want to do, which is wrestle near the top of the card.
It would be a bad look.
It would.
I think the turning point between fun heel manager Shane running around and hitting people with chair shots and running, he was the best runner away from a heel I've ever seen. He was amazing at that. And then he beat up Randy Orton.
A few Muay Thai lessons later.
Yeah.
And then we got to 2016, and then from then onwards it was an absolute mess. A massacre. A massacre. I haven't recovered.
From one creative genius to another, Shane McMahon to Chelsea Green, she apparently wants to bring back the Divas Championship.
Yeah, she stated she wants to bring that back by tweeting, when I win, I'm starting a petition to change the WWE Women's Championship back to the Divas Championship.
When she wins Money in the Bank, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah. That is heat. She has qualified for the ladder match, so when I was away. But that is heat.
I mentioned your Straight to Hell with Chelsea Green, I think on the podcast, because we were talking about how brilliant she was on the SmackDown in Scotland. No, at the pay-per-view, where she ran away and then a mysterious luchador came back out to try and help Piper Niven.
Yeah.
And she's just always coming up with funny and unique stuff. And I mentioned that she's probably one of the best episodes of Straight to Hell.
Oh, big time, yeah.
So many creative ideas.
That was one of the headline making Straight to Hell, because that's where the story about her pitching to be part of Rollins's whatever, the revolutionary, with a bit more religious connotations.
She wanted to be like a sexy druid or something.
Something like that, yeah. And then everyone was like, oh, you can't just leech onto other people, Chelsea, what you doing, man? But at least she had the ideas to get out there.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. She always seems to be making creating something. My point was, even before she was with Matt Cardona, you could compare the two creatively because they're both full of ideas and they're both always keeping themselves relevant.
And Chelsea, when she's on the screen, as we saw at Scotland, and every time she's on there, she always makes the most of the little stuff she's given.
The little things.
I think I saw someone on Twitter saying she does the most stuff per minute of any wrestler.
Yes.
If that makes any sense. It did to me.
Sounds very American, but yes. And we'll end things with a preview of tonight's Monday Night Raw. 5 matches. There's quite a lot of matches to be announced ahead of time, and a segment have been announced for tonight's episode of Raw, starting with Braun Strowman versus Chad Gable versus Bronson Reed for a Money in the Bank qualifier match.
Lyra Valkyria, Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane in a Money in the Bank qualifier triple threat match there.
Good evening. Karrion Kross will take on Kofi Kingston. And last week, Ross, after almost a decade maybe of never breaking up, the seeds of discontent have started to be sown between Kofi and Xavier Woods.
Alive.
I know.
Was it good from Karrion Kross? Because so far
it was
hasn't
better.
been good.
Yeah, it was better. But then the New Day got a response promo. And it was done quite subtly for wrestling because Kofi keeps interrupting Xavier.
Oh, no.
But you'd think that in wrestling, like the one being interrupted would go like, oh, but it was actually way more subtle than that. Then the segment ended. They did a high five. And I was thinking the camera's going to linger on Woods going like, and it didn't. And then Pacitti pointed out the nameplate said Kofi Kingston with Xavier Woods.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, it's happening.
Good evening. Braun Breaker is going to take on Ludwig Kaiser. Rest in peace, Ludwig Kaiser.
He was good at the dark match on SmackDown in Scotland because it was when Germany-Scotland was going on. Came out in a
5-1.
Came out in a Germany shirt. It was 3-0 at the time, and he probably was telling the crowd 3-0. It was unbelievable.
Wouldn't believe it on the news as well. Scotland got knocked out the Euros last night.
I can't believe you've done this.
Bloody hell.
Alba Fire and Isla Dawn will take on the Cowie Girls, Katana Chance and Caden Carter for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles.
And finally, Drew McIntyre returns to Raw after quitting Raw last week and going to SmackDown and spaffing all over CM Punk's big SmackDown moment.
Yeah.
Great.
The old firm derby continues to rumble on in WWE, and we'll have to see what happens. I think Drew versus Punk is one of the most, it might be the hottest feud in WWE at the minute, even without any matches or any belts.
Yeah. I would fully agree with that.
Fair enough. So it looks like it could be a very exciting Raw indeed. I'm starting to feel like in the Triple H regime, each Raw and SmackDown feels like, something might happen on this one. Like there's no skippable events. Presumably, we'll also see a follow-up to the Wyatt 6.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
That was done really well as well, wasn't it? It was a big week last week for wrestling. I missed most of it.
Yeah, well. Thanks very much for what. But you won't, I thought that you won't miss it by keeping up with our news content both on the Cultaholic channel right here and also at cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. I've been Jack, this has been Ross, and we'll see you very soon.